Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Beneath the Surface, where we discuss political, social and Islamic affairs taking place around the world. Today we'll be focusing on Hajj and its spiritual dimension. Joining us on the show is an Islamic lecturer and student researcher at City University, Brother Ehsan Rangiha. Thank you very much for being with us today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. And inshallah we can share a few words, and I hope that it's a benefit for everyone.
Inshallah. Let's start off with, why do Muslims go to Hajj?
Hajj, in reality, it is one of the obligatory actions that needs to be performed by all Muslims if they fulfill a number of conditions. From those conditions is that the person needs to be baligh, he needs to have reached an age of maturity. He needs to have the financial stability and ability to perform this journey. And also from a health perspective, he needs to be able physically to also embark on this journey. Furthermore, he needs to be sane. He needs to be in the right frame of mind to be able to perform such an action. And finally, the way to Mecca and the way to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs to be open, and the means for the traveling needs to be provided, needs to be there for the individual to perform it. And it is once in a lifetime. So it's wajib and obligatory only once, which this again shows the importance and the significance and the powerful nature of this great ritual. For example, when we pray every time, every day we have to pray 5 times a day. But we say no, Hajj, if it is performed correctly and with the right understanding and mentality, it is enough for the whole of the lifetime.
You went to Hajj last year. What did Hajj actually teach you?
Hajj, I see it as an evolution of the human being. So from the time of birth all the way until the individual passes away, all of this for me was manifested in Hajj. Right from the beginning, how we were born, again as we shall go through the different stations of Hajj and what it signifies. For me personally, this is what I see it. I don't see it as a 2 weeks, 3 weeks trip to go and come back and continue with my normal life. I see it as a revolution of the heart. I see it as the revolution of the mind and the soul. That the person goes and it is not intended that he comes back the same person. One of the great scholars, he used to say, I hope that you go and you do not come back. People used to ask him, Sheikh, you're telling us to go. Everyone wishes the person to go and come back with good health. He says, no, I wish that you go and you bury yourself there and you come back a new person. You come back a changed person. So when you're back, you can see the effects of this great pilgrimage within the individual. So on a personal basis, it was my second time, which Allah blessed me, to at least physically be on this journey. And I try to concentrate as much as I can on the spiritual or on the philosophical aspects of it, so we can learn and hopefully implement what we have experienced when we were back in home. Of course, this is not to say that the jurisprudential aspects are not important. Both of the surface level, the exterior, which is the fiqh and jurisprudential side, as well as the spiritual side, which is to do with the heart, they're both hand in hand, they're both as important as one another.
So Hajj as a whole is more physical than spiritual, but what is the spiritual aspects of Hajj?
Indeed, any worship, and not only Hajj, any worship has 3 types of dimensions in Islam. The first dimension is the ahkam of it, which is the jurisprudential, legal verdicts that we have to follow our scholars, that this is how it is to be performed. For example, this is the pillars, you have to go to Arafat, you need to be there. If you're not, your Hajj is invalid, for example. Or in prayer, takbiratul ihram, sajda, ruku, they are from the wajib acts of prayer. Secondly, you have the adab of any worship. The adab of worship, for example, when it comes to salah, when it comes to prayer, is that I might be standing in a correct way and performing every action correctly according to the jurisprudential actions. But when it comes to adab, I am scratching my head. I'm playing with my watch, for example. this doesn't invalidate the prayer as such, if it doesn't change the form of the human being and the person praying from the state of praying. But it is not the correct etiquettes when you're speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And thirdly, you have the asrar of any ibadah, of any worship, the secrets, the reality, the spirit of that. So when we say the prayer, as-salat, mi'rajul mu'min, it is the ascension of the believer. So physically you're standing here and you may be in the best of etiquettes, so you have the adab as well. But asrar, has the individual actually ascended to where he should ascend? We're saying it's the mi'raj of the believer. That secret is this, that when I am in sajda, or in other words, when, for example, I'm doing tawaf, is it only my feet and my body which is going around the Kaaba? Or is my heart and my soul and my mind, all of it is going, revolving and doing tawaf around the haqq, around the truth? So these are from the secrets, from the realities of Hajj and any other worship, which the believer needs to strive and to attain the 3 levels and the 3 dimensions that we've discussed. Hopefully we'll go through some of the dimensions, some of the spiritual dimensions of various stations in Hajj as well further on, and we can expand on what we mean.
I was just going to ask you, what are the stages that the Muslim would go through during Hajj?
So Hajj has 2 main parts. When we say Hajj al-Tamattu has 2 main parts. The first part is Umrah al-Tamattu, and the second part is Hajj al-Tamattu. Now, we don't wish to discuss any fiqhi or jurisprudential aspects of this. Any person can refer to the people that they follow, the great scholars, the grand maraja. May Allah protect them all, and they can benefit and follow the rulings that has been mentioned. But what I would like to discuss very briefly is some of the stations of various rituals that we do. So, for example, the first in Umrah al-Tamattu is the Ihram.
Can you go a bit into depth with the Ihram and not just give us the brief aspect of it?
Yes. So Ihram is the person puts on for the male 2 pieces of cloth from a designated place, the miqat. Now, it's got certain jurisprudential dimensions that need to be observed. Now, some of the more in-depth angles or dimensions and the spirit that we can look at and reflect upon and learn and make it a point for changing in our life is the following. For example, the ihram, it's recommended to be white. It needs to be white. What is this white? What does it signify? It signifies purity. It signifies that now that I've taken all my clothes of the dunya, of whatever I was, back in my life, back in my work, now I've taken those clothes in the sense that I'm thinking I've taken the clothes of disobedience of Allah off. The clothes of sinning and impurity, I have taken it off. And now instead of that, I am putting the clothes of obedience. I'm putting the clothes of purity, of whiteness, of sincerity. Meaning that I want to have a pure slate now that I'm coming to you, Allah. In Ihram, there shouldn't be any stitches in these 2 pieces of cloth. There shouldn't be any stitches. It shouldn't differentiate me with other people. Meaning what? Meaning no matter who you are in your country and in your town, whether you're a president, whether you're a beggar, whether you're rich, whether you're poor. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter whether you haven't studied even a few years at school or whether you have got your postdoc. It doesn't matter. When you come to this house, when you come before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you need to all be the same. You break the idols that you have within you. You break anything which differentiates you than other people. Now I might be wearing a nice suit. I might be driving a nice car. I might have a good education. I might have good health, etc., etc. It differentiates me in the society from other individuals. You can say this is someone who's probably more well off, he's more educated. But when it comes to ihram, and now you have removed everything, everyone is the same now. Everyone is the same. What differentiates you then is not your physical appearance. It's not how many zeros your bank account has. It's not how many degrees that you have. It is the taqwa. It is the heart now. Now the different ways that you can, well, the individual cannot tell, but Allah can differentiate is now who has the spirit with him. Who has come to Hajj with his spirit and who has come with his feet and with his physical being. Ihram. The other point about Ihram that one needs to reflect about and bring back with him. So as I mentioned, it's not a 2 weeks, 3 weeks journey and finish. Another aspect is to remind us of our death.
But how would they actually bring that back with them? About the death you just mentioned. How would they bring that back?
When we say we have died now, because that's what we're saying. We're saying that now that I've put my ihram, I have removed me from being me. Meaning that I have removed everything all the appearances from myself. I have gone back to my origin. I'm wearing my ihram. I remember the kafan that I'll be wearing when they put me in the grave. This is going to be a new beginning for me. So when I come back, I know that I have done my kafan myself. I said I have removed all the I-ness that I have. The hadith says, "Mutu qabla an tamutu." Die before you die. What does it mean? It means account yourself. It means remove the I-ness, remove the attachments that you have as you would do in Hajj before you actually die. Before you actually, the time comes that you are by force removed from the dunya. So that signifies death. It means that I have removed. So when I am back in London or when I'm back in my hometown, it's always in me that now I have made a firm determination and a decision, and I have rid myself from all the appearances, from all the attachments that I had by wearing that kafan, by wearing that 2 pieces of shroud, which is going to remind me of my final destiny. So it's going to be a new start for me. I have died, but in reality, I have gained life through this death.
It's very beautiful. And then what is the next stage of Hajj?
So in Umrah al-Tamattu, there are 5 main wajib rituals. The first one was the ihram. And during the ihram, 24, 25 things become haram for you. Again, it's mentioned in the fiqh books. The second point is the tawaf. So after you've done the ihram, you put the ihram and you say the labbaik.
Can you just tell our audience what labbaik means, the talbiyah is?
The talbiyah. You say labbaik, Allahumma labbaik. What this means, it means that in my translation, in the English way that I want to put it, oh Allah, I have come to you. You called me and I have answered your call. Labbaik, I have answered your call not with my physical existence. Labbaik comes from lub. You know, in the Quran we have ulul albab, those people of thought, those people of understanding, of thinking. Lub means the same thing. It means that I have come with my heart. I have come with my mind. I have come with my whole existence. I am answering your call. I'm saying labbaik to your invitation. So what is very subtle and what we have to understand from this and benefit from is that remember that when we go to Hajj, again, it is not us who are going. It is not my visa and the money that I have which sends me on Hajj. It is an invitation. It is an invitation. And this is clearly manifested when you say labbaik. It means, oh Allah, you called me first and now I have come to you. So without your call, I couldn't be here. And I couldn't have said the labbaik. But when I say the labbaik, it's very important that we don't just mention it on the lip and on the tongue. No, it needs to be from the heart. That I have truly come to you. That's why the awliya of Allah, when they wanted to say the talbiyah, they would shake, they would shiver. They would say, why are you shivering? It says, I'm afraid that I might hear la labbaik wa la sa'daik. That I don't want maybe the call comes from Allah, that no, you have not answered my call. And you have not strived towards me. Maybe in the physical sense they have said labbaik, but Allah says la labbaik. It means no, you have not come to me. You have just given me lip service. You haven't come to me with your whole existence. Allah wants us to go with our heart, with our full being.
How can we make sure we actually go through that and inshallah none of us actually get the la labbaik wa la sa'dik?
Well, this is a journey of a lifetime, isn't it? A whole story and the whole mission of the prophets, the awliya, the anbiya, the a'imma, the scholars has been this, that we truly say labbaik. It's not that easy. It is not that easy. That's why the awliya of Allah used to shiver. The imams used to shiver. So it's not something easy that we can say we have reached there. But what we can do in our life when we are here, when we are in our hometowns, if we are vigilant of our actions, if we always have this accounting of the self, if we always have this supervision of the self, if we always remind ourselves about our destiny, about the reason, the purpose of my existence, where I have come from, where I'm going to, if I constantly remind myself of these, so surely the person who has prepared himself before Hajj, before the labbaik, before the miqat, his labbaik will be different who's just turned up in the airport. It's different. That's why many people come and ask, they say, how can we concentrate in prayers, for example? How can I be full attention? I asked one of the scholars and he said, you look after yourself outside prayer and Allah will look after you inside prayer. So outside prayer you're thinking about the dunya and you're thinking about everything else except from Allah. How is it that now you want to come to pray, you want to have your full attention to Allah? It can't be possible. The same way, the Hajj, from the year before, you have to prepare yourself. We have to prepare the grounds for ourselves. So the way that we live definitely determines and makes a difference to what level and how in depth our labbaik and answering the call of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. You mentioned about the second point. So the second wajib act is Tawaf. After you have put on the Ihram, after you have done the Talbiyah, you go towards Masjid al-Haram. You enter and the first action you need to do is to perform the Tawaf. Tawaf, it is going around the Kaaba 7 times. You start from Hajar al-Aswad and you end with Hajar al-Aswad. Again, there are certain jurisprudential actions to it, rulings to it, but what can we benefit from? What could be some of the spirit, some of the philosophies behind it, some of the realities and secrets? Some of them is the following, that it's going to be implemented and taken even when we are back. As I said, Hajj is a university. Hajj is the evolution of the human being that contains all the stages and stations of his life. So in Hajj, when you start, one of the areas is that you have to always move forward. You cannot turn back. You cannot. You have to always be forward. What does this mean? This means, yes, physically in Hajj you have to be like this in Tawaf. But also remember, in life, you always have to be towards improvement. You always have to progress in life. You always have to improve your knowledge, your taqwa, your service to the community, your knowledge, whatever it may be. And we have a hadith that the one whose 2 days is the same, he is in loss. Tawaf teaches us move forward. Do not turn around. Secondly, is constant movement. You cannot go and stop and then come back. It's good to keep a constant movement going around. Meaning again in life, it's the time, and in the dunya, is a time for striving. It's a time for working hard. It's a time of movement. It's not time to sit down and rest and be stagnated. No.
So it's kind of like what we live today. Like, for example, someone did a mistake or did something that they didn't really want to do. They can't really go back in time. You just have to go forward and fix or improve on themselves and what they've done.
That is one of the aspects as well, yes. It's always forward. Always have a goal, have a determination. This is what I want to achieve in life, and you move towards it.
What type of goal can someone put before going into Tawaf, other than, of course, making the niyyah of Tawaf, but a certain goal that they can think of so they can think about it while they are doing the Tawaf?
So some scholars, they speak about the 7 times going around, and this was from the other dimensions of going 7 times, is that every time that I go around, in reality, I need to remove one of the veils between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The human being is veiled and distanced from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through his actions. Only through his actions. There's nothing else which veils between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And some tradition says there's 7 veils, for example. Of course, different human beings is different. But every time that I go around and I start my tawaf, this time round, I think to myself that I have this vice of jealousy. I have the vice of envy. I have the vice of ignorance, arrogance, greed, anger, etc., etc. So every time I focus that I'm going around and I'm going with this intention and I'm asking help from Allah, that's why there's the adhkar of every shawt, every turn, that I ask Allah to help me to remove these veils that I have. So this is how maybe we can set a goal whilst we are there, that how to remove the impurities that I have within myself. The other aspect of tawaf is that, remember, tawaf, you're not alone. You're with thousands of people. You're with hundreds of thousands of people that you're going around. What does this mean? It means that the religion of Islam is not a religion of individualism. It's not a religion of asceticism, to just stay on the side, or monasticism,